Regina.
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you. Can I pour you some tea?
Okay.
Oops. This is gonna, yeah.
You know, being able to drink a cup of tea is one of the major Zen teachings.
One of the major what?
Zen teachings.
Zen teachings, yeah.
People are not able to drink a cup of tea. It would be quite sufficient here to just drink a cup of tea.
You probably know that wonderful story of Paul Reps trying to get into Japan, and during the war, he had been in Korea, and he had a visa, but he got to the passport office to make his entry into Japan, and they said, no, you can't come in. So he went and he sat and he undid his thermos and he drank his cup of tea sitting in the office, and then he wrote a small note, and he went and he put the note on the desk for the passport officer, and the passport officer read the note and then took his stamp and stamped his passport so he could enter, and the note said, drinking a cup of green tea, I stopped the war. Shall we stop the war? Just first of all, with tremendous gratitude to you and your students for this opportunity. This kind of invitation allows me to prepare by way of like a recapitulation of my life with my path, with my teacher. And so for months it's been such a tremendous gift to be able to remember what I have received and to be in prayer and communication with in the heart with Lee for what I should bring here and how to be here. So I really deeply thank you for this opportunity, and thank you all for your amazing participation here this weekend.
The guru is rare.
Yeah.
And people, first of all, have no idea about this opportunity. It's not that they don't appreciate, it's just that they don't know.
Yeah.
So it's difficult times, you know. The Western society is in a darkening movement.
Mm-hmm.
And the guru is the manifestation of the guru is becoming very rare. Mm-hmm. There's been a peak. Mm-hmm. End of the last century, and maybe in the beginning of the next century, there was a peak. You know, there were many high gurus.
Yes.
Manifesting and transmitting the teachings to the West.
Yes.
And now it's very hard to find, the manifestation of the Guru, even in India.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're looking for it, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find. And all the great masters in India, which have lived, at the end of the century, I was in bliss to be able to meet one of the last living gurus and receive the transmission. But now there is a darkening movement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's always like this,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the West has co-opted this idea that the Guru is within, you don't need the Guru without. And so this has become such a movement throughout the Western psychological and, New Age spiritual scene that it's almost like, oh, you poor person, you had a Guru, But we find the Guru within. And it's Dr. John used to say, dead Guru don't kick ass.
Well, this is a similar quote which you can find in one of my books, Intelligence of Awakening, where another teacher said, the best way to not really threaten the ego is find a dead guru.
But the Tibetans also say that the best place to live is several valleys away from your guru.
But it's interesting that you emphasize this concept, in the psychological and, I don't know what you would call this movement, self-empowerment or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very peripheric, internal movement, which has absolutely no idea about what kind of discrimination it needs, to discriminate the inner guru from the inner opponent.
Yeah.
It's a naive and ridiculous concept, the inner guru for most people. And those people who have never been with a realized guru, they have finally no idea about this, what discrimination is necessary, But it's interesting that you say this. I mean, I've kind of had a taste of this in the United States. It's even stronger, this concept.
Yeah. We're way ahead of you in evolution.
Yes, in a way.
In the States.
In a way, yes. In a positive and in a negative way.
And in a negative way, yeah.
Here, it's actually, it's more the overlayer of the atheist ideal of the age of enlightenment, which is working here very strong as an overlayer, But I think my feeling is that in the United States there is more input from, religious, heartful religious influences from other levels of being. Here it's more mental, it's more mental, more rational.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'd like to move to another subject that is very much strong for me. You've used the term, and in this chapter on the integral yoga that I was given, you're using the term conscious death and the notion that everything will be taken from you in all paths, in all true paths. So at the age in which I find myself, the reality of physical death is very present for me. And so the Sufi notion, the Sufi teaching of die before you die, as a practice, as the taking of each challenge, each moment, each pain or whatever, as this preparation for conscious dying. So I wonder if you can comment on that, and you can also give me any input on that, because that is part of my practice.
Well, first of all, I differentiate between the lower and the higher octave of death. Mm-hmm. So the masses of the people, they connect their understanding of death with the physical living of the body.
Yeah.
So this is what I call the lower octave of death. But if we want to learn, if we want to realize what death is teaching and what death is, we have to move to the higher octave of death. Mm-hmm. Death is teaching in the level of the mental, mm-hmm. finally spiritual. So why do people become aware of death when the body gets old? They should become aware of death when the body is young, mm-hmm. you see. So I don't teach to prepare for death, because preparing is still postponing it. Mm-hmm. You see, we should find a more radical approach to meet death in this very moment. Mm-hmm. Some teachers, also like Castaneda, you find in this teaching, the secret teachings always imply the presence of death in this very moment. Mm-hmm. I remember reading in Castaneda, that Don Juan was teaching him how death was, I can't remember whether it was behind the left or behind the right shoulder.
Left shoulder. I remember.
You remember that? Okay, yeah. Realizing death as a real force in this very moment. Mm-hmm. We have to get away from this physical ban, mm-hmm. where death is only working as a power in relation to the physical. From the perspective of the path, the physical death is not so important. It's not important. What is important is the mental death. Mm-hmm. Because the suffering, those teachings which have the wisdom, how is it possible to overcome human suffering? It's very clear that the suffering is not related to the physical. Mm-hmm. The suffering is only related to the mental. That people have the idea to be imprisoned in the body is not a physical concept. It's a mental concept. Mm-hmm. So we have to get to the source of suffering. The body is not suffering. The body has pain. The body is decaying. But the body is definitely not suffering. Mm-hmm. The mind is suffering, and the mind is the only source of suffering on earth. So we have to get to this source. Where is the source of suffering? It's not in the physical. It's the confusion of the people. Mm-hmm. So if a young student wishing to be free comes to the guru, I mean, young and vital and everything, then the teaching would be the same. This is meeting death here and now. Mm-hmm. Because the next confusion of the people is that the mind understands death as an opponent which is standing on the other side of life. Mm-hmm. So here is life, and here is death. This is the mental understanding of the people. You see, they don't. The mind cannot really lacking a term. They cannot really merge life with death. They remain opponents. Mm-hmm. So therefore, we have to find what is death. There is a distance between me and death. You see, there's always a distance. Why is there a distance? Because in between there is fear, there is resistance, and there are certain mental movements. So when this distance becomes less and less, and finally the power of death is here, exactly here where the mind is, and the merging happens. It's simply said, but of course this means, what does it mean? Well, it means the death of the mind. Mm-hmm. This is the whole teaching, you see, the death of the mind. But what is it? We cannot make an image of what it means, death of the mind. We have to we have to allow this experience and invest in confidence and trust more than in the teachings of the fear of the mind. Knowing death is the key. But yes, the body comes old, and it's not an essentially different situation to a young body, Body can be young or old, but it's not the major scene where death is appearing, Mm-hmm. When you observe people in the process of falling, falling is an important concept of the process of deepening. Mm-hmm. Then the falling starts. They leave the periphery of where the daily mind level. The falling starts. It's an inner movement which is not being done by the mind. And then suddenly, they reach a level, and suddenly there's coming a resistance stop, The fear of
the unknown?
Well, it's the fear of many people think, I mean, it's not false, but it's finally not. It's not the final truth that the deepest fear of people is the fear of death. The deepest fear is what I call the fear of non-being.
Non-being.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So on some level in the falling, this fear will try to interact, you know, and then the falling stops. And then they move up again, you see. And then they again make a new attempt. The falling restarts. Maybe they fall a little deeper, and then this fear of dissolution will again tempt them to resurface. See, this is the process. You know.
When you say attempt, what are you saying? You're saying enter into silence, into stillness. Letting go, whatever.
I mean, it's a temptation. It's maybe the deepest temptation that people meet in the process of awakening, the fear of non-being. It's a temptation. Temptation means, this is the etymological root of this term, you know, it means to return into time.
Yeah.
It's the return into
the
time.
Temporal, yeah.
Yes, it's returning into the world, which is being held together by time and space. If you fall deeper, time is dissolving, space is dissolving.
Thank you.